The morning light fell softly across the wooden floor of Emma's small apartment, painting golden lines that shimmered with dust. The world outside was already awake, cars passing, neighbors talking, yet inside her quiet space, time felt slower. The kettle whistled faintly, and the sound echoed through the stillness. Emma sat by the window, hands curled around her cup of tea, watching the clouds drift lazily across a pale blue sky. She had lived in this little apartment for almost 5 years, working quietly as a graphic designer from home. Her days were filled with routine: coffee, deadlines, late-night calls with clients, but her heart lived somewhere else, somewhere far from the city's hum. There were moments when she caught herself dreaming of the countryside she once called home: the open fields, the laughter of her grandfather, and the faint scent of hay that always lingered in the air. The memory came like a melody she couldn't forget, soft and nostalgic, but she pushed it away, convincing herself that life was better when you didn't linger on the past. Yet deep inside, she felt a quiet ache, not sadness, not regret, but a longing for something she couldn't name. She often wondered if everyone carried a silent dream like that, a hidden desire tucked away under the weight of everyday life. For Emma, it wasn't fame or success. It was the feeling of belonging somewhere again, a place where life slowed down enough for her to hear her own thoughts. That morning, as the city murmured below her window, she noticed a small envelope on her desk, one she hadn't seen before. Her name was written in elegant cursive, familiar and warm. She froze, her heart skipping. The handwriting belonged to her grandfather, but that couldn't be right. He had passed away 3 years ago. With trembling fingers, Emma opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, aged and slightly yellow at the edges. The ink had faded a little, but every word was clear. Quote, "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, then you found your way back to where you began. Or perhaps you've been thinking of it. I've left something for you at the farm, inside the old barn. You'll know it when you see it. It's something that belongs only to you. With love, Grandpa." End quote. Her breath caught. The letter smelled faintly of cedar and old paper, a scent that instantly transported her to childhood summers, spent chasing fireflies and helping her grandfather fix fences. She placed the letter down slowly, her heart filling with a swirl of emotions, confusion, curiosity, and an overwhelming warmth she hadn't felt in years. For the rest of the day, she couldn't focus on anything. Her screen blurred, her calls felt distant. The letter played in her mind like a whisper she couldn't ignore. That night, she sat on her couch, the city lights flickering outside her window. She thought about how her grandfather used to tell stories, about love, patience, and how some things in life reveal themselves only when you're ready to see them. Maybe this was one of those things. She didn't know what waited for her at the barn or why he had written those words, but something about it felt like an invitation, not just to find what he'd left, but to rediscover a part of herself she'd forgotten. Emma leaned back, staring at the letter again. Her reflection in the window looked softer, almost like the young girl she used to be. There was something gentle in her eyes, a spark that had been gone for a while. "Maybe it's time," she whispered to herself. That night, she packed a small bag, just the essentials: a sweater, a book, her old camera, and the letter. She tucked it carefully into her notebook, as if afraid it might disappear. When she finally turned off the lights and lay down to sleep, the city's sound faded into silence, and the last thing she thought about was her grandfather's voice. Calm, kind, and always steady. "The heart doesn't forget where it belongs," he used to say. A single tear slipped down her cheek, although she wasn't sure if it was from sadness or hope. Somewhere between the noise of the city and the quiet of her memories, Emma's heart began to awaken. She didn't yet know it, but this letter would change everything. It wasn't just a message from the past. It was a door opening to a part of her life she quietly wished for, but never dared to chase. That night passed gently, and when dawn arrived, golden and slow, Emma was already awake, standing by the window with her suitcase ready. Outside, the world seemed different, alive with possibility. The road to her grandfather's farm was hours away, but something in her chest felt light again. As the taxi pulled away, she whispered to the city she was leaving behind, "Maybe this is where I find what I've been missing." And with that, she began her quiet journey back home, unaware that what waited in that old barn would stir not just her memories, but her heart in ways she never expected. The drive to her grandfather's farm was quiet, the rhythm of the tires on the road matching the soft pulse in Emma's chest. As the city skyline was seeded, replaced by endless fields and tall oaks, a wave of memories began to rise, memories she had tucked carefully into the corners of her mind. She remembered the first summer she had spent on the farm after she turned 16. It was the first time she had really felt the quiet magic of her grandfather's world. Mornings that smelled of dew and hay, evenings painted with streaks of orange and pink across the horizon, and the gentle hum of crickets as darkness settled. It was also the summer she first noticed Daniel, though she hadn't known him by that name back then. He was a few years older, with an easy smile that never felt forced. He often helped her grandfather with chores, feeding chickens, fixing fences, carrying hay bales, but somehow he had a way of making even the smallest moments feel meaningful. Emma remembered how he once showed her how to polish the old brass doorknob at the farmhouse entrance. She had fumbled with the rag, smudging it more than cleaning it, and he had chuckled softly, not at her mistake, but at the way her brows furrowed in concentration. "It's okay," he said gently. "Some things take a little patience." That small moment had lingered with her, a lesson that seemed so simple at the time, yet carried a warmth she could still feel years later. It wasn't about the doorknob, really. It was about the quiet care someone gave, the kind that didn't need words to be understood. Over the weeks of that summer, she noticed him in small ways. The way he always remembered her favorite tea, how he would whistle a soft tune when working, and how his eyes lit up when he spoke about her grandfather's stories. They never talked about the future or made promises. Their connection was softer than that, a series of shared smiles, lingering glances, and the comfort of knowing someone noticed you. There were afternoons when they would sit near the pond, tossing pebbles into the water. They didn't need conversation to fill the space. Silence was enough. She would watch him sketch the old oak trees in his notebook, careful lines capturing shadows and sunlight, while she traced the shapes of clouds in the sky. Life at 16 was simple, but its simplicity had a way of making emotions feel sharper. Emma remembered the gentle ache she felt when it was time to leave the farm for school in the city. She had hugged her grandfather tightly and waved goodbye to Daniel, who had smiled softly but didn't reach out to stop her. There was an unspoken understanding between them. Life had other plans, and timing wasn't always on their side. Years passed, and the letters they wrote to each other became sporadic. Life grew complicated: school, work, responsibilities, and their connection drifted into the quiet background of memory. But Emma never forgot the feeling of ease and belonging she had felt around him, or the gentle light he seemed to bring into the farm's old wooden walls. She remembered one particularly rainy afternoon, puddles on the dirt path, the smell of wet soil, and the soft rhythm of raindrops against the barn roof. Daniel had handed her a warm mug of cocoa, and they had huddled together near the fireplace. They spoke in whispers, not about grand plans, but about simple things: favorite books, childhood dreams, and the songs they wished they could play on the old piano. "That piano," he had said, "it holds a lot of stories." Emma had nodded, running her fingers along the smooth, polished keys. "I wish I could hear them all." He had smiled, looking out the window at the rain-slicked fields. "Maybe one day you will." The words were innocent, almost casual, yet she had carried them in her heart like a secret treasure. They represented the possibility of something gentle, something steady, something real, a connection that didn't need grand gestures to feel extraordinary. As the farm came into view now, with its familiar red barns standing tall against the horizon, Emma felt a mixture of excitement and nostalgia. The fields looked the same, yet somehow smaller, as if she had grown taller in the years she had been away. The old oak by the pond swayed gently in the wind, as if acknowledging her return. She took a deep breath, the scent of earth and grass filling her lungs, and felt that quiet ache again, not of sadness, but of longing. A longing for the moments she had cherished, for the simplicity of connection, and for the chance to rediscover the warmth she had once known. Emma realized that some memories never fade, and some hearts never forget. Her grandfather's letter, the journey she had begun, and a soft echo of Daniel's presence from the past all seemed to guide her steps. It was as if the farm itself remembered her, and perhaps, in its silent way, had been waiting for her return. She smiled softly, feeling a gentle anticipation she hadn't felt in years. The barn, the piano, the stories, they were waiting, and maybe, just maybe, Daniel's quiet kindness was waiting there too, ready to remind her that some connections, no matter the distance or time, never truly disappear. Emma's car rolled down the gravel driveway, the tires crunching softly over the familiar stones. The farm lay quiet under the late afternoon sun, fields stretching into the distance, golden with fading light. She hadn't expected anyone to be here, and yet, as the car slowed, she saw a figure by the fence, leaning casually on the wooden rails. Her breath caught. It was Daniel, taller, older, but unmistakably him. His hair had a touch of silver at the temples, and his hands bore the subtle marks of years spent working outdoors. Yet his gentle eyes, the same warm, steady eyes, met hers instantly. For a moment, neither of them moved. The space between them seemed filled with years of memories, soft echoes of laughter and quiet conversations. Emma's hand rested lightly on the car door, unsure whether to step out immediately or linger in the pause. Daniel's lips curved into a smile that felt familiar, like the comforting rhythm of a song long forgotten. He straightened and walked toward her, his steps careful and unhurried, as if savoring the moment. "Emma," he said, his voice low and steady. "I didn't expect... it's been a while." She laughed softly, the sound carrying both surprise and relief. "I know, too long." They paused, standing a few feet apart, each hesitant to break the quiet that had grown around them. There was a gentle tension in the air, not uncomfortable, just full of unspoken thoughts. Emma noticed the small details she had remembered, the way his eyes softened when he smiled, and the slight tilt of his head when he listened, and the quiet presence he always seemed to carry. "I'm here because of my grandfather," she said finally, holding up the letter. "He left something for me in the barn." Daniel's eyes flickered toward the red structure, and he nodded. He mentioned it. He was always thinking ahead, wasn't he? Emma smiled, remembering how her grandfather had a way of leaving little surprises, little lessons hidden in ordinary things. "Yes, and I think he wanted me to come back here, maybe to remember what really matters." They walked toward the barn together, the familiar creak of the gate welcoming them back as if it had been waiting all these years. The air smelled faintly of hay, sunlight filtering through cracks in the wood, dust motes dancing lazily in the warm glow. Inside, Emma paused, letting her eyes adjust. And there it was, the piano, gleaming softly under the layer of dust she remembered from childhood. Daniel stepped closer, his voice soft. I helped him finish restoring it before he passed. He wanted you to have it ready for when the time was right." Her fingers hovered over the keys, hesitating, as if touching them would somehow make the past and present collide. She pressed one note gently, listening to the echo. It resonated through the barn, warm and familiar. Daniel stood quietly behind her, hands folded, giving her the space she needed. They didn't speak immediately. Words weren't necessary. The silence was comfortable, a gentle acknowledgement of shared history. After a few moments, she looked up at him. "It's perfect, just like I remembered." He smiled, a quiet, knowing smile. "Your grandfather always said you had a way of bringing life to old things." Her heart swelled with an emotion she hadn't named. Gratitude, perhaps, or simply the deep comfort of being seen and understood. She realized how much she had missed this, the calm, steady presence of someone who knew her quietly, completely, without judgment. They moved through the barn slowly, Emma tracing her fingers along the old wooden beams, Daniel pointing out small repairs her grandfather had made, the corners he insisted be sturdy. Every detail carried meaning, a testament to care and thoughtfulness. When they paused by the window, the late sun casting golden light on the dust motes, Daniel said softly, "You've grown into this place beautifully. I think it missed you." Emma felt warmth bloom in her chest, a mixture of nostalgia and comfort. "I think I missed it too, and maybe I missed more than just the place." Daniel's eyes held hers, calm and understanding. There was no rush, no expectation, only the quiet acknowledgement of years gone by and the gentle reconnection of two hearts that had always understood one another. As the sun dipped lower, spilling long shadows across the barn floor, Emma realized that the past wasn't something to leave behind. It was something that could meet the present, gently, quietly, like a song remembered after years of silence. And in that moment, standing beside Daniel, she felt the echo of all those summers, all those simple shared moments, wrap around her like a soft, familiar melody, a reminder that some connections, no matter how long they are apart, never truly fade. The late afternoon sunlight slanted through the barn windows, casting golden stripes across the wooden floor. Emma sat at the piano bench, her fingers brushing lightly over the keys, while Daniel leaned against the doorway, watching quietly. For a moment, neither spoke. The soft echoes of the piano filled the room, weaving a bridge between past and present. Emma could feel the weight of the years, the distance that had stretched between them, and the quiet pull of everything left unsaid. Finally, she broke the silence. "Daniel, I've thought about this place every day since I left, and about you. I've never forgotten the way you made even small moments feel important. I didn't know how to tell you back then." Daniel stepped closer, his hands relaxed at his sides. "Emma, I think I've been waiting for this moment too. All those years, I hoped you'd come back, not just to the farm, but to this." He gestured subtly toward the piano, the barn, the space they now shared. "To us finding a way to be here again, quietly, without needing words for everything." Emma's eyes softened, and she let herself smile. "I always remembered, I just wasn't ready before. Life got in the way." He nodded, understanding clear in his expression. "I know, and that's okay. The important part is that we're here now, that we can remember and maybe continue." There was a pause, filled with the gentle sounds of the wind through the old barn slats, the distant rustle of leaves and the soft hum of memories. Emma looked down at the piano keys, thinking about her grandfather, about summers past, and about the quiet kindness that had always lingered in Daniel's presence. "He left this for me," she said softly, tapping the piano. "Not just to remember the music, but to remind me of what truly matters. Connection, patience, people who see you for who you are." Daniel's smile widened, gentle and warm. "He knew you'd find your way back, and maybe he hoped I'd be here too, to remind you that some things are worth holding on to, even if it takes years." Emma laughed lightly, feeling the tension of the past finally dissolved. "You've reminded me more than anyone." For the first time in years, the air between them felt effortless. There were no misunderstandings, no awkward silences that weighed heavy, only the calm certainty that comes from being understood, truly understood by another human being. Daniel gestured toward the piano. "Would you play something for me? Something you've carried in your heart all these years?" Emma's fingers hovered over the keys. She took a deep breath and began to play. A soft melody she had written long ago, inspired by quiet summer afternoons and the gentle presence of someone who made life feel safe. The notes were simple, unhurried, full of nostalgia and warmth, echoing softly through the barn. Daniel listened, leaning closer, letting the music fill the space around them. He didn't speak, because nothing needed to be said. The melody itself carried the truth, patience, memory, and the quiet return of something deeply human. When the final note lingered and faded, Emma exhaled, feeling the weight of unspoken years lift from her shoulders. Daniel took a step forward, offering his hand, a gesture of connection, not possession, but of shared understanding. "Thank you," he said softly, "for coming back, for remembering, for letting me be part of this again." Emma placed her hand in his, squeezing it lightly. "Thank you for waiting, for being here, and for never rushing me. Some things need time." They sat together in the fading light, surrounded by the echoes of music, memories, and the quiet hum of the farm. There was no need for grand declarations or dramatic gestures, only the quiet truth of hearts that recognized each other after years of absence. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma reflected on everything she had learned. Life had a way of carrying people apart, of scattering memories like leaves in the wind, yet some connections endured. Patience, kindness, and quiet understanding could survive the longest distances. And sometimes, the most meaningful moments came not from grand acts, but from the simple decision to return, to forgive, and to embrace the present. She looked at Daniel, and the warmth in her heart deepened. Whatever the future held, she knew this. She had returned to where she belonged, and in doing so, she had found something far greater than a momentary happiness. She had found trust, understanding, and the quiet comfort of a heart that saw hers fully, without expectation. The barn seemed to sigh with them, carrying the soft echoes of laughter, music, and years of gentle longing. Outside, the fireflies began to glow, tiny lights flickering across the fields, a reminder that some magic never truly leaves. It only waits for the right moment to return. Emma smiled softly, letting the melody of her own memories and the presence of someone who truly understood her fill the space. It was a quiet ending, but a perfect one. A moment of closure, a heart reopened, and the promise that connection, patience, and love, in its gentlest form, always finds a way home.